Charleston Symphony Orchestra's executive director, Michael Smith, will stay on after initially contemplating retirement. He tells me what he'll do in his next chapter as executive director for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Michael Smith, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. As you know, and everyone else knows, you're the executive director of the Charleston Symphony Orchestra. And I know you made some news a couple of months ago when you decided to retire. And then we got the news just a couple of weeks ago from the board of directors that, hey, you're going to stay on.
Yes.
What got you from retirement to now staying on and helping this organization grow?
Yeah. I think it's really important for anybody in a leadership position that's been in a leadership position as long as I've been. So this was my 10th season. And that it's really good to zoom out and reflect on what you've accomplished and where the organization is. The organization changed over those 10 years.
Yeah.
I changed over those 10 years, and I think it's really important to zoom out and say, does this still make sense? Am I still the right person at the right time? And so it was about a 10-month period where I really just looked to reflect on that.
Wow. So where is the organization right now under your leadership?
Yeah. So since I had the time to sort of think through this, I think the first 10 years was all about saving the symphony.
Yes.
And if you remember, during the recession in 2008, it was really struggling through 2010. And so the first decade of my work in this position was about saving the symphony and solidifying it. And I'm really proud we're not going anywhere. So we've done that work. And this past 18 months, we raised more than $15 million in endowment for the Charleston Symphony. And so I'm so proud of that work. But what it means is we're not going anywhere.
Right.
But more importantly to me, what it meant was the Charleston community loves the Charleston Symphony. And so that vote of confidence in this organization and what we provide for this community was just really inspiring to me. And so now that we've sort of solidified the fact that we're not going anywhere, you know, I think I'll sum it up this way. The sort of tagline for our season next year is music for everybody. Music for everyone. That's what I want. I want to bring this, you know, in an increasingly complicated world, music brings joy, and I just want to bring that to everybody in Charleston. And so the next phase here is to really make sure that the Charleston Symphony is for all of Charleston.
Oh, absolutely. I want to talk to you about that in just a minute. Mm-hmm. But now that you have that $15 million endowment, how do you break that down and actually help grow the symphony?
Yeah. What we use that for, there's a few things. I want the Charleston Symphony to be a destination organization, and that means a destination for our community, but also for our musicians and staff, and for everybody to feel like this is a place I want to go. And so we went a long way in terms of making a destination for our musicians and staff. This endowment campaign was able to launch a retirement program for all of our musicians and staff, that's how you attract great employees, is to have to make sure that they're treated fairly, treated well, and that they have a chance to retire. And then thinking about our programming going forward, what we're doing in the community, what we're doing in education, what we're presenting on the stage. So all of those things matter in terms of being Charleston Symphony.
And I want to touch on all of that in just a second, because that's a couple of questions I have. But I know the mission of the Charleston Symphony Orchestra is to enrich the cultural life of South Carolina's Low Country with high-quality performances of symphonic and chamber music, and unique and engaging music education opportunities throughout the region. So, what is the state of the cultural life here in the Low Country?
It is more vibrant than it's ever been. Charleston is such a dynamic and vibrant community, and there's more businesses and more arts and culture than I've ever seen in this city. And, you know, of course, you go back with the launch of the Spoleto Festival, and that really, I think, was the start of it. But it's just, there's so much talent and creativity in Charleston right now, and it's really inspiring. And it's almost in any genre or field, but that makes it a really vibrant and exciting city to live in.
And what genres are you all targeting and looking at as far as trends?
When you say genres, are you talking about musical genres?
Yes, sir.
Again, the way I view the symphony is we have these amazing talented musicians, and what they're capable of is such a broad palette. And so the challenge that I have for our musicians going forward is how broad can we make that palette? And so I'm willing to explore just about anything.
What are you exploring now?
Next year we have some really exciting initiatives. We have the circuit coming to town, which is really cool.
Yes.
We have concerto by Quintin Marsalis for violin, which I'm very much looking forward to. Quintin was a childhood hero of mine, and he wrote this violin concerto, which I think is going to be superb. And that's on a program with Leonard Bernstein's West Side Story Suite, which there's a long legacy in Charleston of that. You know, David Stahl was a protege of Leonard Bernstein, and so there's a special history with that. We've got Pinchas Zuckerman, legendary violinist, coming in, like one of the world's finest violinists. So a little something for everybody next year.
Yeah, you bring a little bit of New Orleans to Charleston too. Absolutely. I like that. So with the symphony's power here in Charleston, Michael, what tools do you have to improve the quality of education in Greater Charleston through the arts?
Yeah, so education is a real passion of mine, and it's the one thing that once you get it, nobody can ever take back from you, right? And so what I want is for our musicians and staff, board, everybody associated with our organization, you could take the approach that, you know, we reach a lot of children in small ways. But I think that exposure piece is important.
Yeah.
But I'm looking to create more meaningful relationships on a one-on-one basis, and it might not be the broad impact of called like the peanut butter approach, spread thin over a little bit. I really think it's important to know people and get to and have these relationships, and I'd rather make a really deep, meaningful impact on a fewer number of people. And so that's really how we're thinking about our education and community engagement programs. It's not that we're not going to be out broadly, we are. But where I'm passionate about is that one-on-one experience where we can really make a difference.
And you try to reach the children in small ways. What are those small ways right now?
We have an in-school program, and so we are regularly this year we were in 75 schools in the Tri-County area. Wow. Many of which were Title I. Sure. We have our Youth Symphony program where almost 100 kids get regular interactions with our professional musicians on a weekly basis. We have a Young People's Concert where we partner with the Gilliard Center. We bring in about 3,000 kids a year to the Gilliard to hear the symphony. It's a partnership with Carnegie Hall. It's fantastic to see the kids are usually prepared by their music teachers, and we provide the curriculum.
Sure.
And they come to the symphony prepared, so it's not the first time that they've heard this music. They're either playing the recorder or singing with the symphony. It is a spectacle.
Wow. And so let me ask you this, Michael. With COVID passing us now, what type of curriculum are you adding to that?
Right now, again, my approach isn't necessarily to add more things. My approach is to make a difference really impactful. So one of the things that we've done through COVID is we launched a fellowship program, and so it's been a few years now, and it's 2 what I call executive fellows and 5 musician fellows. So trying to be as inclusive as we can with this inclusive fellowship and launch careers in the arts, and it's been absolutely a tremendous offering to make a difference in, it's just 7 people, but the impact in the lives that I've seen has been absolutely tremendous.
And how many of those people with that participation have you launched careers with?
I'm really excited. We had a fellow that's just finished his 2-year fellowship with the symphony, and he is Jalen Williams. Just got a new position at the Gilliard Center after 2 years with us, so I'm so delighted. And we have others that have moved on. We have a director of education and community engagement, I think with the Tallahassee Symphony. Yeah. So we've had some really good success in a really short period of time with this fellowship, and I'm delighted that not only did Jalen thrive in this fellowship, but then he stayed close to home and went to the Gilliard Center, so we'll get to see his continued growth there.
Absolutely. And where do you want to grow with this fellowship?
I would love to see the Charleston Symphony from top to bottom reflect Charleston. Yeah. That's what I want. And then I want the people that participate in this fellowship, even if they, I use Jalen as an example that stayed close to home, even if they go out into the world, that they're ambassadors for the Charleston Symphony.
Wow, that's amazing. And I know that your organization's mission is to actually build a local and global community for chamber music through performance, education, and outreach, while obviously celebrating Charleston's history of music. So, how do you build on that capacity right now?
I think there's a number of areas. One of the things that I'm really interested in is right now we perform between September and May. I'd love to be a year-round orchestra. You know, when I first moved here in 2006, Charleston was a quiet town in the summer.
Yes.
And now there's a lot of people that look like you and me in suits in the summer working.
Right.
And I think there's an opportunity for arts and culture to be a part, and to be part of our lives during the summer months. And I also think it's a chance when a lot of the marketing noise and things died down. It's actually a chance to reach people like you and I, where there's not as much going on. So I think, and in terms of reaching younger audiences too. So I think expanding programming throughout to be 12 months is a dream of mine. I'd really like to accomplish that here.
And so how many participants and attendees do you expect out of that?
I think there's some evidence that we can have thousands of participants through that. We've done a few programs here and there that we've tested the waters, and for example, we did a concert in partnership with the city on July 4th last year, a couple years now, and there's been, I think last year, almost 5,000 people there. So I believe the audience is there, and it's what are we going to program, how are we going to program it, can we be creative about it, is it outdoor programming, or maybe it's too hot in the summer for that, is it coming to enjoying the air conditioning of the Gilliard, or is it nighttime program? So I think there's some creative ways to explore, and for those of us that don't head out of town in Charleston and actually love the Charleston heat, what can we offer those people?
Absolutely. So let me reset, Michael. Who exactly is your audience right now?
Our audience is everybody that can be moved by music, and so that is literally every living, breathing soul in our area. That's my dream for that.
And you talk about the area. Where else do you want to reach that audience with the symphony?
I think our goal is really the Tri-County area. I mean, I would love that people in New York or Paris or Berlin think highly of the Charleston Symphony, right? You want that sort of recognition. But what I'm most passionate about is how do the people in Charleston feel about us and that Tri-County area. So it's not that I don't want to reach out beyond that area, but what I'm really passionate is how does Charleston feel about us.
So how does Charleston feel about you all today?
I want to believe that there's a lot of love for the Charleston Symphony. We had more people in the hall this year than we've ever had even prior to the pandemic. Just some small examples. We do a holiday pops concert, you know. We had almost 4,000 people over 3 nights in our community that celebrate the holidays with us now. We had not only the highest revenue, and the revenue is sort of an outcome, but the highest amount of single tickets, so people coming through the door this year than ever in the symphony's history. And so that says to me that there's this growing love of what we do in our community.
You talk about revenue. I want to go back to your idea of bringing the symphony year round to the Low Country. So how much revenue, where's the infrastructure for that if you were to put that in place?
Yeah, there's the symphony's revenues or sort of operating revenue comes from 3 buckets. Our donations, we're nonprofit, and Charleston, and even throughout the pandemic, stepped up, and we saw that love. Our ticket sales, and then this endowment. So as our endowment, we raised this money, and as it grows over the next few years, it's not all in the door yet, but as it grows, we get a larger distribution towards operations. So those 3 areas, if we really focus on that, and what I believe right now is, with the growth of Charleston, we have this real opportunity to grow our revenue in all 3 of those areas. And one of the things that I would like to do from that is offer more free community programming, and we were able to do that with Piccolo Spoleto this year, and as we've done every year, but I'd like to do more of that. And as we grow revenues through those 3 areas, that allows us to be more of the eliminate barriers of access, and even even if you're just a casual fan of symphonic music, you don't have to be an ardent, lifelong supporter. We still want to be in your life somehow.
Yes.
And so building that revenue will allow us the ability to do some of those sort of more community-minded programming.
And thanks to Scott Watson, the folks at the Office of Culture Affairs. But okay, so let me ask you, what exactly is your fundraising goal for that?
So our overall fundraising goal, I actually have a pretty bold goal. We have been raising at or about $2 million for our annual fund almost every year, and it's gives and takes, right? And what I believe now is over the next 3-year period that we can increase our annual fund from $2 million to $3 million. And so I've presented this to the board, and I've presented a plan for us to get there, and that's my goal, is to increase our annual fund by $1 million in 3 years.
Now, what other areas do you want to work on or tweak to get to that level?
Yeah, I think it all comes back to the relationships in our community, and that's what it is. It's all about people, right? Exactly. And so can we connect on a personal basis, one-on-one? Can we connect through the music? Yeah. Can we connect? Everybody that I've talked to about the symphony, you might be passionate about our young people's concert, you might be passionate about us bringing Pinchas Zuckerman. As long as we have that sort of menu of offerings where people can connect as they want,
yes,
continuing to nurture those through people.
Wow. And going back earlier when you spoke about the audience that you have and that you're trying to reach, what are the barriers of access that you mentioned?
Yeah. There's a few. But the biggest one, honestly, is stigma. And I'll say it this way. It's that classical music is boring, that it's proper, and you have to dress up and you have to sit there, and that it's not fun, or that I think there's a stigma attached to it, and I think breaking down that stigma to say, I go back to the first thing I said, music is for everybody.
Yes.
And so it's about messaging, it really is. And so what I've found is that I can put an ad in the Post and Courier, and that's probably going to attract the people that just need the reminder that, oh, I like classical music, I'm going to come. But what I found is, just going back to those relationships, is grabbing people by the hand and saying, would you like to come to the symphony with me? I haven't found one person yet that hates it. And so it's just a matter of those invitations.
Sure. So is your messaging on or off?
Our messaging is improving. I would say. When I have a brochure that just says music for everybody, or music for everyone, it at least makes you think, well, does that include me?
Yes.
And then so you open it up and you say, does that include me? That's where I think we can make a really powerful difference. And so I believe, I told you, we have, I think, such a broad range. We've got, I told you, Pinchas Zuckerman, we've got Music Cirque, we've got the Harlem Renaissance next year. So it's such and across our Masterworks and Pops, I just think of that broad range of offerings and telling people, so being able to come on your program and share that I believe that this is for everyone in Charleston.
Absolutely. And what other differences do you want to make in that category?
In terms of, I'm sorry, forgive me.
Oh yeah, no worries about obviously reaching those people that you haven't reached yet, and that messaging.
Yeah. So classical music, we talked about stigma. I mean, there's so many, and what I'm talking about is being inclusive.
Yes.
And we have open doors and we have open hearts, but we haven't done enough to make those invitations. And so that's why when we launched Project Aurora with Kellen Gray,
oh yes,
and thinking about where we perform, what we perform, how we perform, who's on our stage, I want the Charleston Symphony to be the most inclusive, welcoming, cultural asset for all of Charleston.
And with that growth in Charleston, Mr. Michael, what should you all perform? What should you all approach as far as chamber music?
Chamber music is a wonderful access point because it's small, it's not intimidating.
Right.
We can do it outside, we can do it inside. In fact, that's one of the things that I'd like to do this year is with chamber music. One of our musicians had this idea, and I think it's fantastic, and he implemented it in another city. Free lawn concerts.
Yes.
Just free. And then the way he promoted it was on those like Facebook pages like Nextdoor. Just free concerts.
Right.
Come as you are,
Yes.
come enjoy,
Yes.
and let us talk about the symphony. Let us hear some great music. And so it's a way to just get in people's heart in a very non-threatening way. And to sort of break down some of those stigmas that I talked about, that it's too expensive or you have to dress or look a certain way.
So, what other stigmas do you want to break down when it comes to music as a whole and with the Charleston Symphony?
Yeah. I think that it's become almost for 300 years that classical music is for rich people, and it's gotten very white as well. And the idea for me that if music is for everyone, and we're programming in a way now that I feel is more inclusive.
Yes.
How do we build that trust to bring in more of the African American community in Charleston in particular, because there's such a rich history in Charleston, and I just feel like we're making strides, and I feel like building trust and building those personal relationships is the key. And so my thoughts continue to be one-on-one, whether it's our education programs or whether it's diversifying our audience, it's those one-on-one approaches. And so reaching out a hand and making that invitation, but you have to have that you have to have programming, and you have to have this sort of, I call it open heart.
Yes.
In the first place.
Yes, indeed.
And I think it's going to be slow. I really do. And I don't. I wish there was a quick fix, but when you have, I'm sorry to be slow about this or thoughtful about this. There's generations of intentional or unintentionally not being inclusive. So how do you win that trust with the community that's had that history? And so we have this open heart, and so it's going to take one-on-one invitations.
And I know I'm going ahead of myself, Michael, and probably ahead of your board too, but what public-private partnerships do you want to have to actually reach that goal?
Yeah. No, you're not ahead of us at all. The city is key. The Gilliard Center is key, and they've done tremendous work in this area already. We had a conversation earlier about Dr. Matthews, and I'm thrilled for the museum to be opening soon, and we've already talked about some wonderful partnership ideas that we can have there. So the school district is another huge opportunity, and obviously we're connected with all of these, but what would be the power of all of us really working together on sort of a similar initiative here? So those are just a few major institutions, but there's others as well.
College of Charleston, all those places.
Absolutely, of course, College of Charleston.
Yeah, absolutely. What other initiatives do you want to take place and actually put forth to the Symphony's board and the staff and the audience?
Yeah. This idea of summer programming is really interesting to me, not because, and you think, well, it's going to be the same thing that you already do.
Yeah.
What I like about it is it's sort of if we can get there, it's sort of permission to dream about what don't we do today, and so artistically, and so I've got these unbelievably talented musicians and staff members, and so I'd like that program to be something we've never done before. I had this crazy idea, and this is a good forum to get it out. Do you know what EDM is? it's electronic music,
Oh, yes.
right? Like the electronic dance music.
Right. Oh, yes.
I thought about reverse engineering that and taking electronic dance and re-engineering it into acoustic music.
Yes.
And I think that young people would love that.
Oh, yes.
Right? And so little crazy things like that. I've had this idea for a while, and like do it at the music farm or some venue that you wouldn't expect the symphony to be.
Right.
So I just think little things like that would be fun to explore, like really creatively. That when we were in, quote, save the symphony mode, we couldn't even really dream like that. We're just now in a place where we can start thinking artistically, what are the crazy things we can do for Charleston?
Yes, absolutely. So how can you think artistically with Charleston's growth in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think right now, with the growth of Charleston, I talked to you about this vibrancy of almost any sector you look at in Charleston. And so that means it's sort of this the tide lifts all boats concept. If we can hit this development goal that I told you about of raising another $1 million, which I think we can, and through that getting more and more people in the hall, you're going to see some very, very creative artistic initiatives come out of this organization, and we're not going to be sort of, it's called a regional orchestra right now. I think Yuri Becker says this. I think we're going to be a major orchestra.
Yes.
I really do.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So how does your organization diversify its funding mix to support that programming for the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah. The revenue I told you, the endowment, ticket sales, and contributions. The key to all of it is a program or a concept that we call Grow the Symphony Family, right? And so it is in as many different ways as we can. We call people the Symphony Family. If you attend a free concert at the Joe for July 4th with the city, or if you buy a ticket for one of our Masterworks or Pops, any one of those things, what are we doing to embrace that relationship with you and to get more and more of Charleston in the door? And so that's the ticket, is to have as many people in Charleston part of our family.
And how many tickets besides the single tickets have you sold thus far this year?
The total ticket sales, I think about it more in revenue, and I should have it in terms of the number of people. But I think that we had over 50,000 tickets sold this year.
Wow, that's really amazing. Well, Michael Smith with the Charleston Symphony Orchestra, thank you so much for your time, and again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so much, Quintin.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.